Ask Dan Schneider. B.R. Quinn asked me, Dan, what annoys you the most about people that you interview? Well, that's an interesting question and also a fairly broad question. Um, it's not so much the people that I interview that can be annoying than those that I don't get to interview. I mean, when I interview people on film or art or whatnot, and I, for example, delineate the like-dislike axis from the good-bad axis, quality versus what someone subjectively likes, people don't understand these things objectively. I just recently did some shows on Orson Welles and Ingmar Bergman and Charles Dickens and Kurt Vonnegut, and I don't think any of those people really got what I was delineating. So that can get frustrating. But the most frustrating thing is when dealing, especially YouTube snobs, as I've put my Dan Schneider video interviews and Ask Dan Schneiders on both Cosmoetica and E-Cosmoetica, it's frustrating that I don't get the hits that a lot of other people do. There are lots of websites that do these little educational videos. Usually they're cartoons or they have humor. A guy on Vsauce always pops up into the frame, and a lot of times these websites give faulty information and sometimes just flat out factually wrong information, especially when it comes to social issues. And dealing with some of those people, I've tried, for example, I want to do series where I feature interesting websites online as well as interesting YouTube channels. But a lot of the people who have some of the more popular YouTube channels are snobs. They don't want to sort of associate or be interviewed by YouTube channels like mine, which only gets maybe a couple of hundred hits for some of the main things I do. It's easy to get a lot of hits when you're doing a 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 minute cartoon about the Big Bang or about the Napoleonic Wars or something of that nature. You don't have to think and talk about things in depth. I do 90, 100, 120 minute, 150 minute shows with usually multiple experts about topics, philosophy, death, art, history, science, that you can't just put into a little 3 or 4 minute video that's cutesy. So I'm not going to get all of those hits, but I've tried to get some of the people together, and it's sometimes very frustrating. I had this idea because I came upon these two YouTube channels that purported to give basically advice to people about how to live their lives better. One was a right-wing YouTube channel called PragerU, and it was founded by some journalist named Dennis Prager. I'd barely heard of him. I might have seen him once or twice before or whatnot. And he's fairly articulate, but he holds some views that are just plain out wacky. A lot of his videos that deal with out and out politics or religion are just flat out wrong. But he can have some videos that talking about art or some other things in the mainstream, aren't as off the beam. So I wanted to get his right-wing website in dialogue with this other YouTube channel called The School of Life. It was founded by a philosopher named Alain de Botton, and they do a lot of interesting little videos. They have some videos on the careers of people. They have some videos that talk about the history of this, that, or the other thing. Like many channels, though, they're channels about, or they're videos about life. They're videos about why people are a certain way sexually, why people like pornography, why about art, are usually terrible. And that's to be expected. But I would have liked to have been able to get a show where I had someone from PragerU debating someone from the School of Life about these kinds of issues. I wanted to get first some art people. There's a woman named Hannah Roxburgh at the School of Life, and there was a guy who did a video about the demise of art during modern art from PragerU. I wanted to get those two together to debate, but the PragerU guy said he had made some commitment to Prager and couldn't do it, and I couldn't even, the School of Life people didn't even get back to me. Then there were other websites and whatnot. There's something called the Art Renewal Center, which is basically bunch of sort of, I guess some might call Luddite views about art. They do correctly rip into most modern and postmodern art and abstract expressionism and whatnot, but they do so from a political point of view, not recognizing that there was some good art there, and you have to be able to pick that out. For every phony like a Pollock or even a Yoko Ono, there were some people in the last 50 years that did show some talent. It's not just all, they believe in art as beauty. I contacted them to do a show, and they wanted me to give some certified reading or certified numbers of how many viewers I got for my YouTube channel. I said I got a few hundred viewers. They were not interested in doing a show simply because it wasn't going to benefit them, they didn't think, because I didn't have the viewership. Now, here are people saying that they want to talk about art, they want art that does higher things, and yet they are doing the lowest common denominator thing, because I might in a year their video might only get 400 or 500 hits rather than 50,000 or whatnot. They didn't want to do it, so utterly hypocritical. And finally, there was another YouTube channel, and this is, I'll only mention 4 out of probably a dozen or two that I could mention. This young kid named Ollie, who runs something called the Philosophy Tube, and his YouTube channel is a little bit better than Prager or School of Life in that they don't rely on just cartoons and a lot of bullshit. He sometimes would put on costumes or whatnot and try to be humorous, which were the weakest videos, but he'd actually talk about some things of depth. So I had emailed him to see if he wanted to do it. And just like the Art Renewal Center people, he did not think it was in his best interest to do it. He didn't have the time. He wanted to know if I could pay him. I mean, seriously, here's a guy who's been on YouTube and thinks that he's going to get paid to appear on YouTube. Anyway, he just like the Art Renewal Center people showed his true colors, that despite having some intelligence and whatnot, that really he was just in it for the money, trying to get his YouTube channel popular, which is fine, but he's never going to make a living from it. So what really motivates these kinds of people? There are some YouTube channels where I guess people have been able to make a living, but it's their arrogance, their hypocrisy. They state things in videos that they just don't put into practice in real life. So that's probably the thing that annoys me the most. Again, at this point in my life, going through a rough time, a lot of things annoy me, but those are the things that probably annoy me the most in regards to YouTube and the YouTube channel. So thanks for the question.